Hello and welcome everyone to Navigating Autism, Transforming Lives, the Essential Role of Assessments podcast. In this 3-part series, we'll speak to experts about the comprehensive role assessments can play in effective autism care. In our 3rd and final episode, we'll focus on the role of digital tools for enhancing autism diagnosis and informing effective interventions. I'm joined today by Colleen Williams, a nationally certified school psychologist and assessment consultant for Pearson Assessments. Colleen, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome. My pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Definitely looking forward to this conversation. So just to jump right in then, Colleen, what are the advantages of using digital tools in autism?
That's a great question. Digital tools really resonate well, I found, with the neurodivergent individuals, particularly with the interest in the digital world. So this engagement often leads to better participation, more accurate data for evaluations. Honestly, most and many of our folks with communication needs use digital options for communication as well. We found that there's a lot of advantages to using these digital tools in autism assessments. First of all, being the utility and the accessibility. So having these digital tools, they're easy to send to parents and teachers via email, so they can complete at their own convenience. Another factor is cost effectiveness. It's often much cheaper to do these digital tools. It reduces administrative costs. I know a lot of times when I was in the field, we would send out rating scales in paper form, and a parent or a teacher would lose them, and then, you're out a couple dollars for that. Whereas with these digital options, you're not out any money until you actually generate a report. Another aspect is, again, that time efficiency. This streamlines the process. It saves time for clinicians on the scoring end and also the participants on the administration end. This ties into quick scoring and immediate feedback for both the clinician and the patient, and then also just long-term progress tracking. So being able to monitor and track children's progress over time and offering insights for continuous monitoring.
That is really great insight. Thank you so much. Do the advantages of digital tools mean that the availability of digital assessments for autism evolved?
Oh yeah. There has been a lot of evolution over the last 25 years. The first digital assessments were traditionally just for recording observations and behaviors. Once we got into the early 2000s and 2010s, we really started to use more question-based checklists, Likert scales, things like the social communication questionnaire were developed, and these could be quickly scored digitally. Q Global, Pearson's platform, was launched in 2009 and offered a platform for administration and scoring assessments. This included the WACE, some of our Beck inventories, and the Vineland, which is often used among the autism population. And then later in 2012, Q Interactive rolled out, which is just a further advancing of digital landscaping for assessment.
Yeah, there are more and different tools, but let's talk about their effectiveness. Colleen, do digital tools improve the accuracy, efficiency, or accessibility of autism assessments?
Oh, definitely. From personal experience as a clinician, I found digital platforms for autism evaluations honestly engage students more, as opposed to a traditional paper and pencil method. Digital platforms like Q Global and Q Interactive really reduce barriers by providing multiple modes of delivery for children and adults with autistic behaviors. I also just think having lots of options within your evaluation process is vital for an ethical evaluation. By providing some rating scales that maybe are print and then also some digital, this can be more convenient for parents and teachers. Oftentimes, these evaluations, parents are traveling from far distances. I've also found that many students that are neurodivergent tend to respond well to a digital assessment rather than paper and pencil or having to answer verbally. Obviously, everyone is different, so that might not go for everyone. But for this specific population, I found that they respond well to it. From an efficiency standpoint, I feel like this is a huge time saver for the clinician. For the clinicians that are listening that maybe were in grad school or have, done the old school way of hand scoring, you all know how time consuming it can be. So being able to just input scores and generate a report is a huge, huge help. Also, being able to email these to parents and teachers for them to complete on their own time rather than sitting in a waiting room for hours and completing these. So overall, Q Global and Q Interactive, both of these platforms help reduce barriers to assessment, ensuring that children can receive timely and accurate evaluations. And obviously, this leads to more effective and personalized interventions And, these digital tools enhance collaboration among our professionals that are going to be progress monitoring and working with these kids and adults long term. So the more data, the better.
Well said. Yeah. And this is really fascinating. So thank you so much, Colleen. We've heard about some of the benefits of digital tools, but are there limitations or risks associated with digital tools, and how can those be mitigated?
That's a great question. It's something every clinician needs to be aware of as we enter this digital world, right? While digital tools are very beneficial, huge time saver, they're not perfect. Risks can arise, and you must use best practice. With that said, Pearson has done a really great job of providing step-by-step instructions to ensure that accurate administration is maintained with fidelity. So if there's a specific assessment that you want to administer digitally, there's going to be a set of rules and guidelines that you can look at specifically for that assessment, which is really nice.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of digital tools for initial assessments. And now I'd love to know, what role do digital tools play in monitoring progress?
So digital tools have a role in monitoring progress in autism in a huge way. It's one of the primary ways that we can see if a child is improving in intervention or perhaps not. Regarding our assessment specifically, tools like the Vineland-3, the WISC, the BASC-3, the ASRS, the CBCL, and the PPVT, just to name a few. These are all progress monitoring options that have allowed clinicians to track progress over time. This offers, precise, easy to update records for individuals in key areas that include communication, social behavior, and cognitive abilities. Truly, I think that progress monitoring is one of the most important areas of dealing with a child with autistic behaviors. So using these assessments consistently can really help with a child's performance and improvement.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing. Colleen, can you talk about how digital tools can streamline care and minimize caregiver burden?
Of course, we're very aware of caregiver burden that can come with individuals with autism, and digital tools can be really helpful. For example, digital tools help organize client information and assessments in Q Global and Q Interactive, and this definitely helps reduce that administrative burden on caregivers. Being able to send those emails, like I said, for rating scale completion that they can complete on their own time, it's one less piece of paper they don't have to keep up with. And I know that when you have a child or a young adult with these disabilities, it can be overwhelming with the paperwork. So one less form for them to complete by paper.
All right, so now let's talk about digital scoring. What are the advantages of digital scoring, and how can additional information help clinicians develop targeted interventions?
The more information a clinician can have about their client, the better. The more precise they can be in their treatment and interventions. So having assessments and rating scales are so time consuming as it is. So if we can shorten the time that, parents and teachers are having to complete those, that's a huge win, and more time they can be spent on their intervention and their time and care. And to top it off, Q Global creates such a beautiful report that you can use in your reports and treatment plans.
And those are excellent insights. Thank you, Colleen. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about specific assessments. What digital tools does Pearson offer that can support clinicians working with autistic populations?
Oh, definitely. So from personal experience, I can say that there are 6 major ones that I really have loved using, and I also see a lot with my customers. So the ASRS, which is the Autism Spectrum Rating Scale, is a really great one. That's definitely for ages 2 through 18. So if you're working with kiddos older than 18, that might not be for you. Another children's rating scale is the BASC-3, and that focuses on a variety of areas: internalizing behaviors, externalizing behaviors, all of that good stuff. Additionally, we've got our cognitive measures for adults and children. Our gold standard is the Wechsler, so the WISC-5 and the WACE-5. Additionally, we've got the Vineland-3. This one is actually ages birth through 90. So that one's got a wider age spectrum there, as well as we've got the sensory profile and the Conners-4. Those are both for littles, so ages birth to teenagers.
Those are excellent tools that will be great resources for our listeners. Colleen, thank you so much for your time and your insights for our audience. This really has been an enlightening conversation.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And of course, thank you as well to our listeners, and we hope you learned some strategies to use digital tools to support autistic populations. If you'd like to learn more about other great autism tools, you can visit Pearson's Autism Resource Center at pearsonassessments.com. Thank you again for listening to our podcast series, Navigating Autism, Transforming Lives, The Essential Role of Assessments.